Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station, coming to you from the Nelson and Tasman region. In today's news, Nelson, Tasman in clean-up mode after storm, girl suffers allergic reaction after wasp sting, council congratulates iwi on treaty settlement, and Gigatown Nelson firm hold on third place. The Nelson Tasman area remains in clean-up mode following the recent storm, with the vast majority of roads now open. Emergency services and contractors spent much of the weekend clearing roads of fallen trees and assisting in clean-up. The region altogether received over 900 millimetres of rain in 8 days. Golden Bay rivers, particularly the Anatoki, Waingaro and Areri, rose to precarious levels. There was widespread surface flooding, power outages, minor slips, washout and trees down throughout Nelson, Tasman and Marlborough. Nelson Tasman Emergency Management actively updated the public as the situation evolved from Thursday afternoon through to Saturday evening. State Highway 60 over the Takaka Hill was closed from flooding beyond Upper Takaka for a time, however it has since been reopened. All roads in Golden Bay are open and contractors have worked hard to clear slips and washouts in places at Rewalker, Sandy Bay and Kaiteriteri. Meanwhile, 8 Graham Valley residents are understood to be stranded at the top of the valley after a flood washed away their only access to the outside world and they're cut off from all essential services and supplies. And back in Nelson, the storm thrashed parts of the central city, one area in particular being Waimea Road, which was likened to a wind funnel. Nelson Hospital, which is on Waimea Road, was closed for a time at the weekend as storm damage to the main building roof was dealt with. It's understood 8 patients in the hospital's intensive care unit had to be evacuated. Meanwhile, the storm caused widespread damage to trees and properties, including a tree down at Nelson College, with trees also down in Collingwood Street, Kawai Street, at the bottom of Jenner Road and the Washington Valley area. 6 heritage oak trees, which have stood on Peter Lawless's Kawai Street property for 135 years, but are now lying across his garage instead. Mainland's film crew were at the scene on Tuesday morning, where arborists were busy tidying up the damage. Thursday's storm also caused 2 of Mainland TV's satellite dishes to be moved slightly off the satellite. This affected 4 of our digital TV channels, but didn't affect our local content or material from our video library. Technicians are working on the system this week to restore the channels. We apologise for the interruption to some of our satellite programming. On Sunday morning at around 10 a.m, the Nelson Marlborough Rescue Helicopter was dispatched to Linkwater in the Marlborough Sounds to uplift a 10-year-old girl who had suffered an anaphylactic reaction as a result of being stung on her head by a wasp. The helicopter's onboard intensive care paramedic assessed and treated the young girl at the scene, after which she was flown together with her mother to Warau Hospital in Blenheim for further treatment. Nelson City Council is congratulating all top of the South iwi on the occasion of the 3rd reading of the Treaty of Waitangi settlement bills. This marks the final political step of a very long hikoi, and the 70-day enactment period will complete the process. The final sign-off from the Governor-General and the distribution of the agreed settlement is to follow. Mayor Rachel Rees says she applauds the intergenerational dedication and determination of all those involved with the negotiations. It's been a long process, but to reach this final stage is momentous and no doubt very satisfying, says Ms Rees. She says the teamwork it has taken to get here is admirable. Rachel Rees says they acknowledge that with this and other legislative changes, the way councils engage with Maori will change, and that provides more exciting opportunities to work together. She says on behalf of council she'll be inviting all iwi chairs and Marlborough District and Tasman District mayors to join together to, in the coming months, plan an appropriate community celebration for Te Tau Ihu. Rachel Rees says the Treaty of Waitangi settlement represents a huge opportunity for all local iwi to invest in the future of their people and their wider community. She says we, as a council, want to continue to work closely with our local iwi and will welcome any new opportunities to work together on specific projects and initiatives as they arise. Meanwhile, New Zealand First has serious concerns about the Te Tau Ihu Claims Settlement Bill and as a consequence voted against the passing of the bill in Parliament on Thursday. Right Honourable Winston Peters says this was an unusual but considered move, but the settlement has deep concerns for them. He says they are still unresolved issues and these are being closed off for good as the bill goes through to settle all our Treaty of Waitangi claims for the top of the South Island. And the race is on to determine which New Zealand town will win the fastest broadband speeds in the Southern Hemisphere, and Chorus's Welcome to Gigatown competition. Chorus General Manager Marketing and Sales Victoria Crone says the race for Gigatown aims to spark innovation and mobilise the potential of ultra-fast broadband to transform New Zealand. She says the vision for Gigatown is to create a leading digital innovation hub for New Zealand, which showcases how ultra-fast broadband will redefine our economy, reshape how our children learn, and change how our communities live, work and play. To win points for their chosen town, social media users in the region need to add predefined Gigatown hashtags. For Nelson it's Gigatown NSN and Richmond it's Gigatown RMD. Each piece of hashtag content will earn Giga points, as well as each subsequent share, like, retweet or comment. 50 towns are involved in the competition nationwide, with Nelson sitting in 3rd position behind Wanaka and Dunedin, whereas Richmond is sitting in 21st position. Janine Pugh surfed the net and came across 2 enthusiastic members of the Nelson Gigatown campaign, Karen Lee and Greg Dykesell, to find out how you can get on board.
Okay, I'm down here in Nelson City with Greg and Karen, who are part of, I want to say Tweet Up, but it's part of Gigatown Nelson.
That's right.
Welcome to this awesome day.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. Now, Karen, let's just start with you.
Okay.
Gigatown Nelson, what is Gigatown?
Gigatown is a competition being run across the whole country by Chorus. They're looking for the town that is most active online, particularly in social media, things like Twitter, Facebook, and there's quite some big prizes up for grabs. We're looking at the winner will be the town that has 1 gigabit fibre. That means that probably we'll have the fastest internet in the Southern Hemisphere. And on top of that, there's a $200,000 development fund to help the winning town take advantage. So really, it's quite a big prize.
So, in a nutshell, how do people get involved in this? What do people need to do to, and where is Nelson sitting at the moment?
Nelson's sitting in 3rd place, which is fantastic because when we started this conversation, we were in 27th place.
Right, okay.
So we're really, really pleased with that, and it's down to all the great people who have got involved. This is really a community-driven thing because there are lots of benefits, which Greg will talk about in a moment. The way people can get involved is by going to the website www.gigatown.co.nz and signing up and choosing Nelson as their town. That's really important. Choose Nelson as your town and we automatically get 10 points. And whilst you're signed in, if you do the week competition they're running at the moment, which is the Giga Quiz, we get another 10 points.
Nice, because it's all about points and it's getting the top 5 by September. We were
That's
talking
right.
a bit earlier on.
That's right.
And people do it through social media, Instagram, whatever else they
That's
can
right.
do using the hashtag. But there are some rules. Who wants to talk about some rules with the Gigatown? Greg, you and I were talking a little bit earlier on about that. So do you want to...
The rules in and
You're also
around...
coming from the business sector side of it as well, because there is kind of 2 facets. It's kind of like there's the general public and then there's a business community. You're wanting 2 communities kind of melding together?
I think the overall asset that could be provided by Chorus in terms of ultra-fast broadband will affect every single person in Nelson, and it doesn't matter which part of the community you're from or which part of the community you represent. There's just huge potential for anybody to gain from this. Ultra-fast broadband will give businesses, education providers, an everyday person the ability to do things that much faster online, which might be something as easy as just talking to your grandma or your grandchildren halfway around the world, which a lot of people have that, through to businesses, people who want to live in this beautiful location, not the best day to day, but I can assure you it is very nice. To be able to work for anybody anywhere in the world but live here in Nelson. We had a fantastic example of this late last year where a radiographer came and stayed in Nelson for 6 months, and he just got up very early each morning and looked at x-rays from hospitals across America, and then did his job from New Zealand here in Nelson, and then travelled round Nelson and saw the site. So he could, going forward, potentially have that job out on a permanent basis, having something like the ultra-fast broadband here in Nelson.
Yeah, so it sort of opens a lot of areas for business people to make it, you can actually live anywhere and be able to do your job, basically. Now, there's some rules, because it's almost like a bit of a game as well, because we're trying to get the community involved. So there's a few little games and things, Karen, we'll come back to that, what you were talking about, the bits, some film and stuff we were talking about earlier. But what are some rules that people need to be aware of when they are doing their tweets or their Facebook?
So the number one thing that we really want people to do is sign up. That's the easiest thing they can possibly do. If they have an email address, perfect. If they've got 6 email addresses, even better. And each email address, you then log into the Chorus website, gigatown.co.nz, and then put in your details and then select the town, that being Nelson, that you're going to support. And from there, you're gaining points for the Gigatown Nelson effort. If you want to continue on your support, then every interaction that you have with social media, if you provide the hashtag Gigatown Nelson in your comments, and each comment must be at least 3 words long, and it must be relevant, can't be spam of any kind, they do catch that out, and that will also gain us points.
So you can't say, I ate my toast today, Gigatown Nelson?
You definitely can. That is a comment, that would actually happen.
Ate my toast. 5
If you're
words.
eating
5
toast
words.
in Nelson, then it's all good.
Absolutely. And what that also does is it creates people who are also looking at your Twitter account or whatever it might be in terms of your social media. They'll also comment on it as well, and hopefully they'll also add the hashtag Gigatown Nelson, which will become this kind of ever-evolving points-gaining
For sure.
system.
And so do you think this is changing communities? Because with social media and cell phones, we've kind of forgot how to talk on the phone or talk to people. Is this changing community, do you think?
I think it definitely is, isn't it, Karen?
Oh, I would say so. It's enhancing our communities, I would say, because we already have a very strong community spirit here in Nelson. We're building a really strong community online. Just the last 2 days on Twitter, we've had one of the Corfin scientists who's been live tweeting under the tag all the work he's doing at the moment looking at cyanobacteria. It's fantastic. And lots of people are engaging with that and are really interested. We've got lots of people who are actually building up real friendships on Twitter. So once a month we have tweetathons where people actually meet up and put faces to names and say, you're so-and-so, so-and-so, and it's really quite entertaining.
For sure.
But the reason we're doing so well is actually because we're building real communities online. We aren't just seeing people who are coming online saying, I'll do 10 tweets just for the cause. We're actually seeing people who are coming online to see what it's like and actually getting into real conversations and then continuing those conversations. So we're seeing strong real communities build.
Nice. And you're just talking earlier on about some films, some mini clips or films about
Chorus believe in keeping us on our toes. So they regularly throw little competitions at us, and the one that came out last week was to create a 30-second video to show how gig Wi-Fi could be used in Nelson. We thought we might get 1 video. We got 10.
Nice.
Which shows the level of engagement. We didn't have to go out and tap people's shoulders. Lots of people got very excited. Next thing we knew, in came all these videos. So we've just been choosing our winner, which we're really wrapped with, and we'll be announcing on the Facebook page very soon. The Facebook page is a great place to go if you want to know about Gigatown Nelson.
Nice. Is there any other passing words before we wrap up, before we get hit by this downpour that's threatening?
I think the biggest thing is not to be afraid of giving it a go. You can interact on multiple different levels of social media. And it's also a great opportunity if you're not sure about how to do these social media,
For sure.
is to actually just ask. There's some fantastic facilities, fantastic ways of being able to learn how to do tweeting and Facebooking and Instagram. We're all like-minded people and we've come from different angles, and it's a great way to be part of your community and have a real chance to make a difference.
Awesome. So we look at everyone out there tweeting and Facebooking
and have fun with it.
Perfect. Thanks very much for talking with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And now Janine Pugh asks locals where they're from, and do we need to review what our region calls itself by way of its names, Nelson and Tasman?
The Nelson-Tasman debate. When people ask you when you go out of town where you're from, where do you say?
I'd just say Nelson, because I guess it's just the big Nelson region, but Tasman's a bigger region.
It is. Do you think we should actually look at changing the region name to a one name?
I think people will always know it as Nelson. I don't know.
So, are we Nelson Bays? Are we Tasman? Are we Nelson, Richmond, Tasman?
I like Nelson Bays. Yeah, I've always liked that, Nelson Bays. You know, that covers the whole area.
It does.
Yeah, and then you can ask which area of Nelson Bays. But it does cover, when you say Nelson, they turn around and say, well, what part? And then you've got to, so it carries on, you know.
Do you think that we need to look at one name for the region rather than going Nelson, Tasman, or Nelson, or...
No,
You like...
it doesn't bother me.
If someone asks you where are you from, if you live in Nelson, Richmond or Tasman, where do you say?
Nelson is pretty central, like, I live in Nelson, not Richmond, not Tasman, it's Nelson, yeah.
When people ask you where you're from when you're out of town, where do you say you're from?
Stoke Nelson. Stoke and Nelson.
Do you think we need to have one name for our region instead of...
Probably not a bad idea. I mean, Tasman is something that's becoming more and more ingrained, shall we say. I mean, Tasman is a good encompassing name, you know, but Nelson is a city. But why not?
Central Nelson will soon resound with the sound of intermittent piano music. At a recent meeting, Council adopted the recommendation of the Community Services Committee to hold a 12-month trial of 2 public pianos in the city centre. The pianos will be provided and cared for by members of the public and some local businesses that have volunteered to help with the initiative. Community Services Committee Chair Pete Rainey says public pianos have proven very popular in cities all around the world. Pete Rainey says it's great that members of our community want to bring them to Nelson's streets. Council is happy to be able to accommodate their vision, and Pete Rainey says he's sure the pianos will bring a new dimension to our city centre that people will enjoy. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.